Good morning, students. Assalamu alaikum. This is your computer teacher, and we're discussing our first chapter of our book, which is Generations of Computer, and it's in your book on page 2nd. What is basically generation of computers? We've got 5 different generations of computer that played their important role during their time, and slowly from first to second, from second to third to fourth to fifth, they advanced and became much easier for the computer, for us human beings to understand. Meanwhile, the older generations, they were very complex and they were a little hard to operate, they were a little hard to understand, but that's not a problem in today's world. Now we're going to talk about the first generation of computer, which was based on the vacuum tubes. First generation of computers, they were the earliest computers used from the 1940s till the 1950s. They were very popular between 1940s and 1950s. They were very huge in size, often filling entire rooms. They were humongous and they used to fill entire rooms, and they didn't leave space for a single person to sit in that room and perform whatever they want to do on the vacuum tube computer. These computers, they could only perform basic calculations and used punch cards for input. The vacuum tubes, they couldn't do complex equations, but they used to do the less complex equations, the less complex mathematics. The punch cards, they were used for input in the vacuum tubes, and for printouts output was used. A very famous example is the ENIAC, which helped with calculations during World War II. ENIAC was very popular amongst the soldiers, amongst the people during World War II. What's a transistor? Now, a vacuum tube, it is made up of uh, electricity. It is a part of electricity which used to control the electricity inside the vacuum. It had metal pieces inside it, inside it a inside a glass or a metal casing, and was used in early radios and computers to help handle if handle and multiply or even switch signals. The computers have evolved over time, and the first generation of computers, the vacuum tubes, they were less advanced, but they had their importance during their time. Now, students, we're going to discuss the second generation of computers that came into being during the 1950 till the 1960. Second generation of computers and machines that use transistors. Second generation is transistors, and first is vacuum tubes. They basically use transistors instead of vacuum tubes. They were smaller and faster. Then the first generation of computer, these computers could solve calculations and even store data. And then these computers became very popular in businesses and schools, and everybody used them there. Now, these computers also introduced programming languages, which made it easier for people to use them. Overall, second generation of computers were an important step in computers development. What did these transistors do? Basically, they were small, they were easier for the humans to work. They introduced the programming languages, which which later on made it revolutionary, and there's so much more. What basically is a transistor? Transistors are small electronic devices that control electrical signal used in computers and many other electronic devices. for application and switching. Now, the second generation was much far more convenient and far more better than the vacuum tubes, but uh, it changed soon after into the third generation of computer. And the second generation, it did introduce coding, it did introduce programming languages, but it did not do anything on it, and it did not like perform things on programming languages. That was something that happened later on in the future, and people started working on it. People started building things according to it, related to it. Now, what transistors do basically is that they control the electrical signals used in computers and many other electronic devices. They change the flow of the electrical signals, the direction of them, if there is any trouble in them. They detect everything and they perform the task that a person has given the computer accordingly, and sends the signals afterwards accordingly. Now, students, we're going to talk about the third generation of computers, which was the integrated circuits. In the third generation of computers, integrated circuits were introduced. They were very important. An integrated circuit, it's a small chip that combines many different transistors all together and other electronic parts into one single compact piece. This allowed computers to be smaller and more efficient. With integrated circuits, computers could perform tasks more quickly and handle several things at once. You didn't have to perform one single task inside a computer, but you could simultaneously perform different tasks on the computer all at once. This made computers easier to use and helped them become more common. Students, now we're going to discuss the fourth generation of computers. What is the fourth generation of computers? It started in the 1970s and is also known as microprocessors. A microprocessor is a small chip that works like the brain of the computer. We've got brain that works our body, while in fourth generation of computers they had microprocessor that worked as a brain for the computers. This microprocessor made it faster and more powerful. This generation saw the rise of personal computers which people could have at home or even in schools or work or wherever. With fourth generation of computers, technology became more affordable and user friendly, helping with people to understand and work with computers every day. Now the fourth generation of computers, despite it being popular, it wasn't that expensive, and it started to become really common that people started to bring them to their houses, to their work, to their school, and even if they didn't bring it, it was very important to have one in your home, in your offices, because a lot of tasks, a lot of performance can be done on a computer, and it makes the work for a human easier because the computer does everything you want to do for you, and you don't have to do any hard work. You do have to do hard work, but to a certain point, because once you input the data that you want into the computer, could be any problem, could be anything at all, when you get the output of it, when you pay money and you get what you wanted from it, that's. Now, these fourth generation of computers, they were powerful, obviously, they were not that big in size, did not occupy entire rooms, they were faster, they were cheaper, they were more reliant, they were more reliable. Long story short, they were one of the best types of generations ever introduced, and they had a very important role in the history and in the history and revolution of computers. Now, students, we're going to discuss about the fifth generation of computers. Fifth generation of computers are still being developed in today's world and are focusing on using advanced technology like artificial intelligence, AI. This means these computers can learn and make decisions to their own. Similar to more human thinking, they use things like natural languages processing, which helps them understand and respond to our words. Fifth generation of computers aim to make our lives easier by solving complex problems, assisting with research, and even helping us with our daily tasks. This generation is all about making computers smarter and more reliable and more helpful. When AI first came into being, it literally broke the internet because everyone was using it. Everyone wanted to try it out. You can also try it out. You could visit the website Chat GPT, or you could even talk to your Snapchat bot, and that's a Meta AI. Because how is the bot replying you like a human? The only reason is that they're functioned in such a way that they'd reply you like no others than humans, and they're very very important and very very useful for one's daily life. They could be used at work, they could be used at doing something positive, or even making gifts. Or some people think that along with AI, slowly how AI is developing, it'll replace our jobs, but that's not true because along with AI, along with the robots that are being created using AI technology, new jobs are being created because someone is gonna have to maintain these robots, right? Someone is gonna have to develop the AI. No, that is correct. Someone is going to have to do all that task and all of that jobs, and once one job is replaced, five more jobs are introduced. Why? They're introduced because of AI itself. Now we're going to have a quick little review of what we learned today. We learned about generations of computer. We had generation number 1, which was vacuum tubes, and it was made up of wires, and it could carry data in the form of electric signals, and it started during 1940 and it ended during 1950s. Now we had the second generation of computers, which was the transistors. They used to carry electric signals and control the flow of electricity in a computer. They were cheaper and smaller than the first generation of computers, which was the vacuum tube and the transistors. They were very efficient, they were faster than the vacuum tubes, and they were introduced during 1950s till 1960s. Now we had the third generation of computers, which was based on transistors. Transistors became smaller and became a part of silicon chip called the semiconductor. I didn't tell you this before, but I'm telling you this now. And it is based on the integrated circuit, which is also called chip. Now the era of the uh, third generation of computer, the transistors, it lasted during the 1970s. Or generation number 4th, which was the integrated circuit, it used to carry signals, and that used to tell the computer what to do. ICs are made out of silicon, a material found in sand and clay. I told you this, that integrated circuit is abbreviated from IC. And what is IC made up of? It is made up of silicon and material found in sand and clay. They can read billions of instructions, and they are attached to the circuit boards inside the computers. Key point: computers have one big circuit board to which many other circuit boards are attached. This is called the motherboard. This is a very important keyword, key line. You have to learn it. And I'm gonna move on to generation number 4. Now we're going to discuss our fourth generation, which is microprocessor. Microprocessor is basically an integrated circuit with electronic circuits and memory storage. It has storage inside it. It helps a computer to run, microcomputer to run, and microcomputer is also known as personal computers. There's different types of personal computers. We're gonna get into that into uh, in another chapter. For now, we're going to stick to what we have to learn. Now, these personal computers, they use microprocessor, IC chips, and they were smaller. They used less storage. They were cheaper, and they're now used in our homes, our offices, or even our schools. Now we had the fifth generation of computers, which was based on AI, artificial intelligence, and it also plays a very important role in our society today, in our workplace today, with our studies today, because it solves all the complex equations for us. It resolves our queries, our questions, answer whatever we want to ask it, and it helps many people with many tasks, and you can talk to it in human language, which makes it easier for us humans to understand what it says to us, and it makes it easier to understand our language. Thank you, class, for listening to my lecture. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you're going to read this chapter once again to clear out whatever queries are left. You can ask me whatever questions you have in class. Allah Hafiz.